Hello, everyone, and welcome to this mini workshop on stress management and self care for human services professionals. I am Dr. Tanya Featherston. I'll be your host throughout the workshop, and I am super excited that you have decided to take a little bit of time out of your schedule, a little bit of time out of your day to do something for you. One of the things that I always say is that as human service professionals and as teachers, we tend to be people who are really givers. And so we want to give and give and give. But the thing that I always say is that everything that we want to give to someone else, everything that you want to give to the students, everything that you want to give to your clients, no matter what demographic of people you work with, all of the love that you want to give to them starts with self-love. The compassion that you want to give to them starts with self-compassion. The kindness that you want to give to them starts with self-kindness. The help that you want to give to them. And we all know that we are the kings and queens of helping, but all of the help that you want to give to your students and to your clients all starts with self-help. So everything begins with the self. If you think about it and you think about anything that you are trying to do for or do with a client that you have, a patient that you have, any person that you're working with, a student of yours, if you think about anything that you're trying to do with them or you're trying to do for them, you have to ask yourself this one question: have I done that very thing for myself? Because if you haven't done that very thing for yourself, if you haven't helped yourself in that area, then it will be very difficult for you to do the job that you want to do, to really do it at the level that you want to do it, and to do it and remain well while doing it. And that's the key piece, is that we all love our professions. We all love what we do, but sometimes they can be draining on us. Sometimes we end up with illness and lots of stress. And we all know that when you become highly stressed for prolonged periods of time, that stress weakens your immune system. That's definitely not something that we want to have happen. And we see it. I was a full-time teacher in middle school and high school, and I saw it all the time. The years that I really went hard and didn't take care of myself and really tried to do as much as I possibly could for my students, inevitably, I always ended up around December, January, February, somewhere in there, getting sick and getting the flu or something along that line. And so we all know, especially in today's environment, with all of the things that we have just gone through worldwide with the coronavirus and things like that, we want to make sure that our immune systems are as strong as they can possibly be. One of the ways that you can do that, in addition to taking on physical things, but one of the things that you can really look at very easily and very quickly is the level of stress in your life. If you have high levels of stress, if you're constantly anxious, worried, overworked, feeling exhausted and tired, then those are things that open you up and make you more susceptible to viruses and things attacking your system because your defenses are down. So even if you don't really buy into self-care and you don't really think that that should be a priority in your life, surely now, because of the things that we've just gone through over the last 5 months worldwide, this would be enough of a wake-up call for you to say, you know what? I need to take care of my own personal wellness, my own personal stress management and self-care, so that I can remain as healthy as I can to be able to do the job that I want to do and that I enjoy and I love doing. So sit back, relax. One of the things I always like for us to really tune in. So before we jump into any more of the content for this workshop, I want you to really just sit back, relax. We're going to take what I call a connecting and a calming and a centering breath. So we're going to really connect with being in the present moment in this space as we go through this mini workshop. So knowing that as we take these deep breaths, I want you to think about the fact that whatever it is that you think you have to do today, whatever it is that you think you need to get done, all of those things will be there waiting for you on the other side of this workshop. So this is your time right now. This is the time for you to do something for you, to learn something for you. And so I really love for you to be engaged and to actually participate and do the activities that I have throughout the workshop. So the first one is that we're going to get comfortable. Remember that comfort is queen. You want to be as comfortable as possible. If you're not comfortable doing something, then 9 times out of 10, you won't continue with it. So this breathing exercise that we're going to do just to bring us into the present moment, sit comfortably, close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. It's always better to close your eyes because it disconnects you from distraction. So once you close your eyes, you really are able to kind of tune in to your body, tune in to your breath much easier because you're not distracted by the things that your eyes are visually seeing. So let's close our eyes. And then first, we're just going to take a long, slow, deep breath in. Hold it for a second and release. One more time, long, slow, deep breath in. And let it go. And then one last time, long, slow, deep breath in. And we're going to let go of anything we're thinking about, those to-do lists, anything that you feel like you need to do. Just let it all go. Okay. So now that we are calm, we're centered, we're connected to each other and to the workshop and to the environment, I ask that you, again, put your phone away, put all of those distracting things away so that you can really give this your full time and attention for the few minutes that we have together. And trust me, the time will go by fast. But I hope that you will leave this workshop if you are stressed. And that's one of the things, the second thing I want you to do is to check in with yourself now. Get a piece of paper and a pen. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to write down your level of stress. So 10 being, I am super stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm just kind of at my wit's end. And 1 being, I'm very relaxed, I'm calm, things are going well, I feel very little to no stress. So rate yourself 1 to 10 and just put it on a piece of paper at the start of the workshop, where you are as far as your stress level is concerned. Okay. And that's something that you can do with yourself at any time. You can rate your stress level, and it's just checking in with yourself so that you can see kind of where you are and how you're feeling at any given moment. And then that kind of will let you know what you need to do for yourself in order to lower your stress if you're feeling really stressed about something. So the first thing I want us to talk about is what I call the 8 emotional phases of teaching or serving. So for all of us, if you're a teacher, then you know that you teach all day long, you serve all day long. If you are a human service professional working in everything from youth development to homeless services to social services, criminal justice, and those types of services, for all of the human service professions, what we are always doing is seeking to serve and help someone else. So, it's thought of as one of the most noble professions, but human service and teaching is also thought of to be one of the most stressful professions. And it doesn't have to be that way. So once we understand kind of the cycle that we tend to go through, then you can be more present, you can be more aware. And it's not that we will stop this cycle, but what we will do is we will be more aware of what stage of the cycle or what phase of the cycle we're in, and then being able to then respond differently and do things differently as far as what strategies we're going to use. So kind of really tuning in and knowing where you are. So these 8 emotional phases are very much like a roller coaster that we go through throughout the school year. So If your particular job is attached to children in any way, then you know that we live our lives around a school calendar. So there's always a beginning, a middle, and end. There's a reprieve during the summer, and then you start again. If you work in summer programs, it's the same kind of thing. If you work in youth development, it's the same kind of cycle. Even if you work in homeless services, if you work with adults, a lot of times we tend to follow, because you're working with families, then our lives kind of revolve around that school type calendar. Or if it's a year to year calendar, it's the same type of thing. So as we go into a new season, as we go into a new school year, as we go into the beginning of a program, we go into the beginning of a relationship with a client, it's all about that beginning. In the beginning of all of those things, we usually feel a sense of anticipation. So if you're starting a new program, you have a sense of anticipation about it. There is a level of excitement about it, maybe nervous energy a little bit about it. Definitely that happens at the beginning of the school year, where if you're starting a new class, you get a little nervous energy, but you're anticipating, what's going to happen and sort of how great that's going to be. Same thing happens if you get a new client. You haven't met them. You anticipate what that person will be like, how open they will be, how, well, you will be able to help them. So there's always anticipation at the beginning. And then that anticipation tends to move into a level of excitement. So when you meet that client, you're excited to meet them because you want to be able to help them through whatever situation they're facing. When you meet those students at school, there's a level of excitement because you want to be able to, help them learn better and learn more. When you start a new program, if it's a girls program, or it could be a women's empowerment program, or a job services or job readiness type of program, whatever program you start, at the beginning of that program there is a high level of excitement for you because you're excited to share the information and the resources that you have in your program. So that we go from anticipation up to kind of just a little peak to a level of excitement where you're excited about all the possibilities. There's infinite possibilities at the beginning. As we continue to go on, and now we've met the clients, we've started the services, we're in, sort of the thick of things. We've been a couple of months of doing it. Then that's usually the time when in human services and in education where the balls start to get thrown, right? And you get different things thrown at you. And so there may be, you went into starting your new program and thinking, oh, I have everything set up. And then all of a sudden somebody throws something in at you and says, oh, we lost funding, part of the funding. And so now you have to go and seek some funding for this program. Or in education, you get everything started. You think you have your classroom set and ready to go, and you know exactly what kids you're going to have and how many kids, and then all of a sudden you get a month or two in and you've got 10 more students than you thought you were going to have. So the balls start to get juggled. People have different new expectations, new things that they want from you. The demands get to be a little bit higher, and so we move out of that sense of excitement or that phase of excitement into a phase of overwhelm, where again we're kind of juggling. And that's what I always call it. The overwhelm phase is all about juggling. You're trying to juggle all of the priorities and demands that you have on you for that particular job. And so some of us are really good at juggling, and we kind of keep things going, and we never really get overwhelmed. We might get a little tired, but we don't ever get overwhelmed with it. Others of us, depending on how much you're juggling, you can start to feel that sort of sinking where things are just piling up on top of you. And you feel like you're being buried under all of the demands that you have. So that's the point where when you're doing that juggling, you've got to really be in tune and aware of, in all the things that you're juggling, is one of those balls your personal wellness and your self-care? That's the question you always have to ask yourself. Because usually if you're juggling a lot of things and if you're starting to get things piled on top of you, most of the time, to relieve the pressure and relieve the stress of it, you are going to take something off. Something has to come off the plate, right? So when you start taking things off the plate because your plate's getting too full, your plate's getting overwhelmed, then a lot of times what comes off the plate is our self-care. What comes off the plate is that art class that I said I was going to take because I enjoy art. What comes off the plate is, my exercise, going to play basketball, jogging, doing, aerobics, doing workouts, going to the gym, those kinds of things. Those are the things that get taken off the plate because we feel like we don't have time for that anymore, right? And one of the things that we know, and I think that probably everyone experienced this during this 5-month period that we had for this worldwide lockdown for coronavirus, was many of the things that we said so often that we didn't have time to do. We found that we had lots of time on our hands to be able to do many of those things. So I know for myself personally, gardening was one of those things where I love to have a small garden here at my house. And I would always say, for a couple of years in a row, I'd say, oh, I don't have time to garden. I'm out training. I'm doing things. I don't have time to garden. I don't have time to garden. And so this year I realized I do have time. I have loads of time on my hands because I'm at home and I can't really go out and do all the things that I would normally do. And so gardening was something that I was like, okay, I'm going to take this on. I'm going to do this again. And it's one of those things for me that is very stress relieving. It's very cathartic for me to start something from seed or to start it from a small plant and to see it grow and produce fruit. And for us to be able to have fresh produce that we grew ourselves. So it's one of those things where, I think a part of this shutdown was really a gift for us to be able to get still and quiet. I teach meditation classes, and one of the things that I so often hear from teachers and human service professionals when I'm teaching those meditation classes is, well, I just can't sit still and quiet for any amount of time. I have too many things to do. There's too much on my mind and those kinds of things. And so one of the gifts that I found during this period of time was that I did a number of meditation classes with educators across the world. And they really, that excuse had been removed from the equation. We couldn't use that excuse anymore. And really, when you think about meditation, it doesn't have to be super long. We're talking 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes tops. And you've had enough time to sort of connect and go within and get yourself centered and grounded. So once you get to this overwhelm point, it really is about being very self-aware. It's being in the present moment and knowing, oh, there's a strategy that I need to implement now so that I don't slip down to the next phase. So the next phase is a common one that we've all experienced, and it is when we get to that sense of dread. And from the graphic on the screen, that sense of dread is when you wake up in the morning and you dread getting up. Now, we all are happy and excited to be alive, of course, but we dread getting up, getting dressed, and going to work. This may have even happened to you during this time with the coronavirus, where because it was so overwhelming for some of us to figure out the technology and to figure out how to do the virtual learning and all that was being demanded from us there, but then also trying to figure this out with educating our own children at home while we're trying to work at home. And so there may have been some days when you woke up and just went, I don't think I want to do this again. I'm dreading this. Even when we're back in our regular cycle and going to and from work, you may get to a point where it's like you start the week and you're dreading it because it's Monday. Then on Tuesday, you're already at a point where you're saying, okay, I wish it was Friday. Is it Friday yet? So you're kind of living for the weekends and you're dreading all the other days of the week. So that's when you get into that sense. If you, again, don't implement some strategies at that point, then you tend to slide down even further, pretty much kind of the lowest you can go, which is that sense of disillusionment. When you're kind of in that slump, you're just showing up because you have to show up because it's your job and you need to get paid. That's it. Beyond that, you've lost your passion, you've lost your drive, you've lost the excitement and the happiness that you have to do this job. And merely it's like, I'm just collecting a paycheck. I'm just clocking in and trying to exist and just be here. So that I can, continue to support myself. So that's that sense of disillusionment when you may be spending part of your time, checking online, checking for jobs and things like that and saying, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this job anymore. I can't deal with these people anymore. And I need to find another job. And so when you're in that sense of disillusionment, a lot of times we will start to look for other jobs and look for other opportunities. But the thing that I want to caution you about with that is that sometimes it does give you a sense of rejuvenation. So when you see the next step on the screen is rejuvenation, sometimes we get that rejuvenation by switching jobs. And so we'll switch jobs and we go back to that sense of anticipation and excitement. But the thing is, if you haven't changed you, then you will be right back down in that sense of disillusionment in a fairly short time doing a totally different job. And so sometimes we can switch from job to job. And I will be honest to say that was my story at one time, where I was like, okay, maybe it's just this school and I need to switch to another school. And you go to another school, I taught at another school, and I'm like, oh, and sometimes it takes a while. So I'm not saying, it happens in a matter of days or months. It could be a year or two. It's like 2 years later, it's like, wow, I'm back in that same place that I was 2 years ago with that school. And now I need to look for another school. And so at some point I had to realize it's not really about every school that I've been to, but it's more about me. It's about how I'm showing up. It's about the tools and strategies that I have in my toolbox to be able to handle the children that I work with every day. Because the truth of the matter is, you can't get rid of all the kids. You can't get rid of the paperwork. You can't get rid of the demands of the job. You can't get rid of the clients in the job. You can't get rid of all your supervisors. Like all of those things you can't change constantly. But the one common denominator that you can change in all of those situations is you. And it's about changing you and how you show up and the tools you have to be able to handle it. So we won't necessarily ever eliminate stress. But what we do is we gather enough tools and enough strategies that we can handle whatever situation comes up, and we show up differently for those situations. So after you get some sense of rejuvenation, and sometimes rejuvenation can just come from a holiday. So we all know what Christmas break does for us, right? Because you get a couple of weeks and you feel high again. It's New Year's, it's like new year, new you, things are going to be different. And so you're excited and you're on that high again and you're ready to go back to work and sort of tackle it again. And, quickly after that, but the problem with that kind of rejuvenation is it doesn't last long. So we're talking, it might last you a month. And then next thing you know, you'll be down there like the survival guy. You'd be like, oh my God, here I am again. And, everybody needs to back off because I'm just hanging on by a thread again. And I'm just trying to make it to the end of this year. I'm just trying to make it to the end of the program year. I'm trying to make it to the end of the school year. I need a break. And so that sense of survival kicks in to where, your brain goes more into survival mode where it's like, I just need to do what I need to do to be able to make it. And of course, once that particular season in your program or in your school year is done, then you get reflective, you start thinking about things and say, oh, I'm going to run this program differently when we start it back up, or my classroom is going to be different. And I'm going to, do things different with the students. And then the cycle continues. So you just keep going in this same kind of cyclical motion when it comes to our emotions. But if you think about all 8 phases of this roller coaster, it can be very emotionally taxing for us to go through all of these phases. And sometimes you won't go through all of them. So you could go from anticipation and excitement to overwhelm, and then go straight down to disillusionment or straight to survival mode. So you don't necessarily have to hit them in kind of a linear order, but you just have to be aware of what they are and sort of assessing yourself, doing self-assessments all the time to see, is this where I am? Is this, how I'm feeling about this? So the big question to answer, now that you kind of know about this emotional roller coaster that we can all go through at times, the big question to answer is, what's in your wellness toolbox? We all need a bag of tools that we can use on a daily basis to keep us feeling happy, healthy, and whole. You have to have those tools there for you to use. So what do you have in your wellness toolbox? Think about it for a little bit. Ponder the idea of what tools and strategies do you currently use? Because we all have some things that we use. And so the question becomes, what tools and strategies, do we use on a day-to-day basis? And there is no right or wrong with this. So there is no, not the idea of the fact that, if I don't have certain strategies, then something's wrong. Because the key to this is that the tools that you choose have to be tools that resonate with you. So they need to be things that you feel a connection with, that you feel a desire to do. Otherwise, you won't continue to do them. So what my tools won't necessarily be all of your tools, and vice versa. And then the second thing is they have to be things that you enjoy doing. It has to be something that you're like, oh, I found some value in this. I understand. I see this working. I see that, I'm feeling a little better now that I've done this, or I just have fun doing it. So you have to think about those two things when you're thinking of your tools. So think about it. You need tools in your toolbox that help you to stay mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually healthy. So if you don't have a toolbox, then don't worry, because you're in the right place. And that's what this is all about, is helping you to create your own wellness toolbox. And that's what we're about to do. So I'm going to share with you first my top 10 wellness tool ideas, because these are 10 that are, and actually it's 11, so there's a bonus, but these are 11 tools that I personally use, not all of them every day. And that's the thing, when you think about making your wellness toolbox, you don't have to do all of these things every day, nor do you even want to try to, because it's just going to become overwhelming. So as we're thinking through this, I'm just going to ask you to choose two things that you feel like you could possibly do on a daily basis, because you need some daily practices. And then we'll talk about how to sort of divide things out. So the first one is mindfulness, living in the present moment. So not living in the past and not living in the future. That's a key one for all of us, because our minds can go 1,000 miles a minute, sort of thinking over the past and how things didn't work out, difficulties you had on the job, projects that didn't quite, turn out the way you wanted them to turn out. All of those things can happen, and you spend a lot of time ruminating in the past. Well, the problem with that is you can't do anything about the past. You can't go back and change that. So spending so much time going over things that didn't go well, or situations that didn't go well, is definitely not helpful for you. And it really can put you in a place of sadness. It can put you in a place of depression, because again, you can't go back and change that. The same thing with being too future focused too, spending too much time in the future of, well, what about this? Well, what if this happens? Or what if that happens? You know that we've all worked with people where they can't get anything done because they're so busy what ifing. And anytime, an idea gets put on the table, or you're trying to discuss a strategy, they're full of the, well, what about this? And the, what if this happens? And, oh, this won't work because of this. So they're so future focused that, again, they can't live in the present moment and get things done in the present moment. So mindfulness helps you to really be in the present moment, in what is happening with you right now. You're not worried about what's going to happen to you in the future, because we don't know and we can't predict it. And you're not worried about what has happened to you in the past, because again, that's the past. You have to leave it there. So being mindful, and you can start training yourself to be mindful just in every small moment throughout the day. So when you're sitting down to have a conversation, or have a meeting with a client, you can practice being mindful right then. One way to practice being mindful when you're meeting with a client is taking your phone and actually turning it over and sitting it away from you, because that's going to allow you to have a present moment connection and not multitasking and doing those kinds of things. So stopping multitasking helps with mindfulness a ton. And it's one of those things where we've been taught for years that multitasking is what we should do, but it's really not. So you can be mindful when you're just walking outside. Instead of being in a rush to walk from your office to your car, take some time, walk at a slower pace, observe what's going on around you, look around, look at the sky, look at the trees, look at the people who are passing you by. Like, really take some time to just take in your environment. That's being mindful. Same thing when you're eating. When you're eating lunch, that could be your mindful break, where instead of rushing to eat your lunch because you have to get to something else, you say, no, I value my lunch. and this is my sort of break. It's my mindful moment. And so I'm going to sit here and I'm actually going to eat my pasta and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm actually going to take some time to look at the cheese that's on it. I'm going to look at the sauce. I'm going to, put it in my mouth and not be in a rush to scarf it down, but I'm actually going to savor the taste of, the spaghetti sauce and those kinds of things. So again, mindfulness is just really being in the moment and being observant of the moment. Using your breath. Number 2 is one of my personal favorites that I do on a daily basis. So our breath is a beautiful free gift that we have been given that helps us to instantly calm and regulate our emotions. So just like the 3 connecting and calming breaths that we did at the beginning of this workshop, it's as simple as that. It's not complicated. Our breath has been with us since we were born, and it'll be the last thing to leave us when we die. So it's there for a purpose, and it's a very powerful tool that we have to use if we learn how to use it in ways that can calm us or in ways that can actually sort of serve to invigorate us. Meditation. Meditation in its simplest form is simply taking a few minutes to be still and quiet and go within. That's it. That's all meditation is. You don't need a guru. You don't need a recording. You don't necessarily need a guide. And I love guided meditations. I do guided meditations myself and I help people with them. But in its simplest form, if you want to start to meditate, just say, okay, I'm going to take 5 minutes a day and I'm going to sit somewhere quiet. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm just simply going to breathe. That's being still, quiet, and going within. And that's it. You can just breathe and listen to the sounds that are around you. It's as simple as that. Doing that for 5 minutes really gives your brain a chance to kind of pause. And there's great value that comes in that space of pause. It'll give you more clarity when you go back into work, when you go back into dealing with situations, because you've given yourself an opportunity to take a break. Visualization, my second favorite on the list. And visualization is simply seeing and creating the life and the situations that you want. A lot of times we falsely believe that we are, victims of our circumstances, that we're victims of all the things that happen to us, but that's totally not true. We have our minds are extremely powerful tools, and we have the ability to see and create the situations that we want. So if you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed by your job, you can spend time on a day-to-day basis before you go into that building every day, and you can just sit for 2 to 5 minutes and visualize and set an intention for how you want your day to go today, for how you want your day to go every single day before you walk in. So, see yourself. If you're at a desk, you can sit and visualize and see yourself sitting there at your desk and things are calm and you have a smile on your face. And there are people who are coming to see you, but those people are coming to see you with grace and with gratitude and with a level of easiness, not a level of demand. So you just have to visualize things the way you want them to be. Aromatherapy, using essential oils to regulate and enhance your mood, is definitely one of my favorites. I have essential oils all the time with me. This is lemongrass in particular, and we'll talk a little bit more about using essential oils to be able to emotionally reset yourself. There's a direct connection between your olfactory glands and your brain. And so being able to regulate your emotions through your sense of smell is a very powerful tool and strategy that you have. The power of your morning routine, asking yourself, how powerful is my morning routine? Is it a routine of dread or is it a routine of excitement? Is it a routine of calm? You get to choose sort of how you start your day. And I always say, if you can win the morning, then you can win the day. So you have to set yourself up for success as soon as you get out of bed in the morning by having some powerful strategies in place and not being a slave to the cell phone and to the demands, the emails and the demands of all the things that's going to come at you. Movement, strengthening your mind and body connection through mind-body movement. Mind-body movement by way of yoga, qigong, tai chi. So doing those kinds of, so it's not necessarily exercise, and that's why I didn't use that word. So we're not talking about a hard workout type of thing, but we really are talking about free flowing movement that is going to help you to enhance your mind and body connection. So you get that type of movement from yoga, qigong, tai chi. Finding your happy place. This might seem silly, it might seem trite to some people where they're like, what? Find your happy place. People are always talking about, the power of being happy. But there is a lot of power in your personal happiness. So knowing what makes you happy and doing at least one of those things. So finding your happy place is as simple as you writing down a list of the things that make you happy and then seeking to set an intention to do at least one of those things every single day. It will really shift and change your perspective. It will change your life if you just take that one strategy and try to use it. Laughter is also a powerful medicine. So intentionally laughing about something every day. Sometimes we get so caught up in solving everybody's problems that we go through an entire workday and we haven't smiled, we haven't laughed about anything. Smiling and laughter, releases endorphins in your body. And we know that endorphins are the happy drug. They're the drug that make us relax and release stress and just make us feel good. So you want to have that laughter and that smile in your day as many times as possible throughout the day, because you want to release those endorphins and not release stress hormones. Journaling, I do it differently. Some people want to write, long letters and things like that. I'm not the long letter type journaler, but what I do use journaling for is for quick spurts when I'm feeling mentally overwhelmed, when I feel like my mind is kind of racing and running and I'm doing too much thinking about solving problems and things like that, or there's just too much mental chatter and I want to get it out of my head. Then I use journaling for that. And it's a free form type of journaling where literally I'm just writing words. I'm writing whatever words come to mind. It doesn't have to be in complete coherent sentences because it doesn't matter. Nobody else is going to read it. But I'm really just trying to get all of that chatter out of my head. And so a lot of times once I get that chatter out of my head on a piece of paper, I'll ball the piece of paper up and throw it away, because it's not that I was going to do anything, or I'm not trying to solve those problems or organize them or prioritize them or do any of that stuff. You just want to get it out of your head. You just want to free your mind, free your thoughts. And then the last one is affirmation. So getting clear on who you are and what you want. So here's a couple of my favorite stress management strategies that I use very often to interrupt patterns of negative thinking or patterns of negative ways of being. So the first one is the heart and belly breathing. And I always call it in for and out more. So that's another way to look at it. So the first thing I want you to do is take your right hand and put it on your heart. So just place it on your heart. Then take your left hand and put it on your belly. So after you have your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your belly, you're going to just gently let your eyes float close. And we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for a second or two, and then we're going to breathe out for more than 4 seconds. So either 5, 6, 7, however far out you can push it. Okay, so let's breathe in for 4, hold it, and out. One more time, in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, and then out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And usually when I breathe in and out, I can breathe out for about 8. It's whatever number works for you. Okay. So again, breathe in for 4 and out. And one of the things you can attach to this is thinking about a situation that is stressful to you. So as you breathe in, think about that situation and just very lightly. So it could be difficulty that you're having with a client. And then when you breathe out, I want you to think about how you want that thing to be. Do you want it to be easy? Do you want it to be peaceful? Do you want the you and the client to have a caring relationship, a strong relationship. So you just breathe in and breathe out. And this time on the out breath, I want peaceful relationships with my clients. So I breathe in. And as I breathe out, I'm thinking peace. So breathe in and breathe out peace. Breathe in and breathe out. So again, this type of, and the connection, and you may be able to feel it, but it's different from before when we just had our hands down and we did just the in and out breaths. But there is a definite, they say that you have three hearts. You have the heart, or yes, you have three hearts: the heart in your head, the regular heart that we know of, and a heart in your belly. And so this heart and belly breathing really has like a mind body connection to it that really allows you to have that sense of peace and that sense of calm that you need to be able to get a little bit more clarity around the situation. The second one is present moment awareness. And what we call, so being able to get yourself in present moment awareness really quickly is you can use what we call 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling, things are just getting to be too much, you can just pause for a second and just think, just put your hand up. You don't have to have it up like this. It could be down beside you so no one really knows what you're doing. But you just start with 5. When you say 5, what are 5 things that I can see? And you literally just look around and in your head, name 5 things you can see. I see my coffee cup. I see my happy rock. I see my computer. I see Yoda. I see pens and I see paper. So around me, there's 5 things you can see. And you just go to the next one. What are 5 things I can touch? I can touch my essential oils. I can touch my wellness toolbox. I can touch my computer. All right, that's 4. Or 4 things you can touch, I'm sorry. And I can touch my water bottle. So, and again, you don't have to say anything. You are simply just going around and touching those 5 things. And it's like, what are 3 things that I can hear? What are 3 things around me that I can hear? So just get silent for a second. And the 3 things that I hear in my environment are, I hear myself breathing, I hear my computer humming, and I hear my diffuser. It sounds like a trickle of water with my diffuser working in the background. 3 things I can hear. Then 2 things I can smell. So again, just get still for a second. 2 things I can smell. I have essential oils going in my office, so I can smell those. But it smells like my wife is also cooking downstairs. Smells like pasta. Maybe that's why I use pasta as an example in this one. But I can smell kind of pasta sauce. So that is the 2 things I can smell. And then the last one is 1 thing I can taste. What's 1 thing that I can taste? You don't have to be eating to do anything with this because we can always taste our own mouth. We can taste our saliva. We can taste our breath. That's 1 thing that you can taste. And so you can do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 very easily for yourself to kind of, and once you go through those things, it really brings you into the present moment. Because if your mind is looking around saying, what are 5 things I can see? What are 4 things I can touch? What are 3 things I can hear? What are 2 things I can smell? And 1 thing I can taste? Your mind is busy doing those things and experiencing those things, and it won't be thinking about whatever you were upset about, whatever you were worried about, whatever you were fearful about. Those things, it disconnects, it interrupts that pattern. And then the third one is visualization. So taking 5 minutes to sit quietly in a quiet place where you know you won't be disturbed, closing your eyes and visualizing your happy place. That's any place. It could be a place that you've been before. So maybe it's the beach And you're happiest when you're sitting on the beach and the sun is beating in your face, and you can feel the sand in your toes, and you are hearing the waves of the ocean wash up, and you can see the blue water and the blue sky. That might be your happy place. You can visualize that, especially if it's a place you've already been at some point in your life. You can visualize that at any time, and it will give you a sense of peace and a sense of calm. It could be someplace that you completely make up in your imagination, that would be a great happy place for you to go to. And that could be your personal oasis, or your personal happy place that you go to whenever you need to just disconnect from the world, and disconnect from all of the stress of the job and of things that you're doing. So those three are very great things for you to do as a pattern interrupt, for you to interrupt negative thinking, negative being, sometimes negative talk that we have with ourselves. Either one of those exercises does that. So then the next thing is developing your own personal wellness toolbox. So these 6 steps will help you to put together your own personal wellness toolbox. So the first thing I want you to do, and you can start this now, but it's a little bit of a process, so you'll definitely have to finish it on your own. But make a list of all the strategies you already use. So from that, my top 11 that I gave you, which one of those have you already used? You can write them down. Maybe it's something that's totally not on my list, and you should email me and share it with me so I can put it on the list of something that you do. Maybe it is going out in nature and taking a walk or taking a hike. Maybe it's reading, it's swimming, it's listening to music. There are thousands of things that could be on your strategy list. So after you just make a list, just do a brain dump and make a list of strategies that you already use. Then the second thing is to think about strategies that you're interested in maybe learning how to do, and add them to your list. So maybe there's something, maybe I mentioned Qigong and you're like, that sounds interesting. And this whole mind body movement thing, maybe, I want to learn yoga or Qigong, or I want to learn Tai Chi. So, or maybe it's meditation that you want to learn, or the art of visualization and doing guided visualization or guided imagery may be the thing that you want to learn. Essential oils, learning more about those and how to use those. So it could be a lot of things that you add to that list. So then once you get your list complete of the things that you already use and things that you'd like to learn about, then go through with a highlighter and just highlight 2 of those tools that you can add to your daily routine. So these are 2 things that you can commit to. Every day I can do these 2 things. So maybe it is, doing a short visualization every day. You can commit to that. And then maybe it's just doing a quick breathing exercise. You can commit to that. So, and again, we don't want to do too much because then we tend to overwhelm ourselves. So even if it's one, you can start with 1 tool that you can commit to doing every day. So highlight that in one color. Then the next thing, highlight 2 tools that you can use, that you can have as your go-to tools when you're feeling stressed. So our everyday things are things that we're doing for maintenance, to keep us at a level, clear kind of place. There will be times when things get thrown at us and we start to get stressed. And so what's your go-to tool? So for some of us now, we have some unhealthy go-to tools that we might use. For example, it could be drinking, it could be smoking more, it could be eating more, eating, unhealthy things. So we don't want to use those tools, but we got to have something else in place. And so instead of that pint of ice cream, you can say, okay, my go-to thing when I'm feeling stressed is going to be aromatherapy instead of eating something. And so with the aromatherapy, you're going to use an uplifting oil like a lemongrass or a wild orange or something like that. And then I need you to choose 2 tools that you can use when you really are super stressed and kind of heading towards crisis. So what are your 2 go-to things that you're going to use for that? And then you have all 6 tools now that you have together. If you chose just one of each, then you're going to have 3 tools. And so I actually physically create a wellness toolbox. So this is my wellness toolbox. And it's a little box, cute little box that I got from the dollar store, and I wrote Wellness Toolbox on top of it. And inside of it, it just has some small little note cards. So small note cards that you can use to write down your tools on them. And I like color coding them. So I color code mine where I have green cards as being either green or blue cards as being the ones that are daily. These are my daily routines. I have yellow, which are the cards that are, "Oh, I'm starting to feel a little stressed. Maybe, like things are piling on." And so these are the tools I'm going to use during that time. And then for me, the pink ones are tools that these are crisis tools. These are, I am really feeling stressed out and overwhelmed and I need to do something, and I need something, very powerful to sort of shift my mood. So inside of mine, I have breathing exercises as one of the tools that I use on a daily basis. So every single day, I do some deep breathing exercises to clear my mind, to shift my energy, and just to bring me into the present moment. That's an easy, free one that you can choose on your list to do every single day, and you just make it a habit. Let's see. For my yellow cards, then two of them that I will use, journaling is one that I use for my feeling stressed, because a lot of times I'm in my head with my stress. And so that means I got too much going on. I'm thinking about things too much or trying to problem solve too much. And so I do the brain dump. So I will, if I feel like the chatter is getting too loud, there's too much going on up there, then I'll say, okay, I need to do a brain dump. So I get out my journal, I do the brain dump, I write down everything I'm thinking about. And again, sometimes I tear the page out and throw it away. Sometimes I just leave it. But I just keep writing until I feel a release. And then the last one that that I use in sort of crisis, like when I'm really like I'm pushing it and I'm really starting to feel stressed out, and like things are just falling apart, then I will use what I call an emotional reset. And so an emotional reset is a technique that I have with essential oils, to where and I can actually do one with you right now. So an emotional reset is really just where you sit quietly, and if there's a particular thing that's overwhelming you. So it may be, for many of us, it was at the beginning of, like, say, the coronavirus quarantine. One of the things that was overwhelming me was the idea of how I was going to shift all of my training, or if any of the training was going to happen. Because at that point, schools and organizations weren't training. Everybody was just scrambling, trying to figure out just the basics of things to do. And so I thought about it and I was like, wow, I have a lot of trainings that were scheduled for the spring. And now so many of those things are getting canceled. And so I was getting overwhelmed with both fear and anxiety around, okay, if my entire sense of well-being shuts down, if my entire sense of income shuts down, like, what is it that I'm going to do? And so I was checking the news every day to see death tolls and this and how much it was spreading, so I could kind of judge, or try to judge, whether things were going to come back before the end of the school year. And so it really kind of started to send me on a spiral, and I knew that I was spiraling down. And so, I knew, because I have my box. And so I was like, you know what? It's a pink kind of a day. And so I said to myself, and I said to my wife, I'm going in my office and I'm just going to be in there for a while. And so what I did was I came in here, I sat down, I did some breathing, and then I did an aroma reset, or an emotional reset, because I just needed to clear my body and my mind of all those negative emotions of fear, worry, anxiety, because that was taking over. And so one of the uplifting essential oils that you can use that kind of uplifts and rejuvenates you is lemongrass, and it's one of my personal favorites. And so to do the aroma reset, you just take one drop of lemongrass, like literally that's all it takes, in your hand. You rub your hands together. And again, I'm going to just take a second to just picture in my mind what the situation is that's overwhelming me. So in my mind, the situation was not being able to go to work, not being able to fulfill the trainings and professional development workshops that I had set up, and losing income. Okay. So then once you get that in your mind, then you really want to just tap in and say, how is this making me feel? How am I feeling? Give it one word. And so my one word would be, as an emotion, would be worried. So I was worried about it. So then you just take a deep breath in, let it go. And then you want to ask yourself, how do I want to feel about this situation? And so for me, it was, I want to feel confident and easy about this situation. And so once I get that feeling in of confident and easy, see yourself feeling confident and easy. So you're going to visualize it. You're going to visualize, I'm visualizing myself being confident and easy, doing my workshops online and not missing a thing. And as I'm visualizing that, just cup your hands together and put them right in front of your nose and inhale. And you're going to inhale the essential oils while you're doing the visualization. So I see myself online navigating Zoom workshops with grace and ease. And so you just sit there and you inhale for however long it takes for you to feel that sense of worry and that sense of fear and that sense of doubt start to dissipate. And so for some people, it's a couple of minutes. Some people that I've worked with, they may sit there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, even 15 minutes. However long you need to sit there is perfectly okay. So you just stay in that space as long as you need to stay in that space, because that's what you're doing, is you're resetting your emotions around that. Now, the more you do that, the more you will start to make a direct connection in your brain between that sense of calm and ease and the smell of lemongrass. And I've done it enough that I can just put on lemongrass. I can just, diffuse it, put it in my hands, wave it around. And I don't even really need to go through all the steps of the reset, because it just automatically kind of relaxes me. But you can do the reset several times throughout the day if that's what you need to do in order for you to feel or to get rid of those negative emotions. So that is pretty much the bulk of this workshop. I've given you a few strategies and tools that you can use. There are lots of things that you can do. If you want some more information about any of these tools that you've seen, please, please, please send me an email. I would love to hear from you. If you tried some strategies and you just want to share your feedback and share what's happened with you, I'd love to hear that as well. If you're struggling and you need some help with something, then please reach out. I answer all of my emails personally, so you can reach me at drtanya@centerforso.com. And just if you need assistance, then that's what I'm here for, to provide you with assistance. There's a couple of other tools that we have that I want to mention as I wrap up the workshop. One is our 30 Days of Calm Challenge. We started it in January 2020 for the first time. And it's a very powerful wellness challenge for educators, for human service professionals, for you to be able to have a fun and easy way to integrate more mindfulness in your life. So if you looked at that as one of the things on the list and said, oh, I'd like to learn to be a little bit more mindful, or I'd like to learn, a little bit more about adding affirmations to my day or adding meditation, well, this challenge will be great for you because it's a combination of those three things. So each day you get an affirmation to focus on. You get a pre-recorded meditation that I take you through. And with that meditation, they're short. They're sometimes as short as a minute or two, and I don't think they go any longer than 15 minutes. So, for example, like you can see on the screen, day one affirmation is, I give myself permission to be calm. So you start out giving yourself permission to be calm, to be centered, to be easy, not to be worried about things. So you have your affirmation, you have your meditation, and then there's some reflection. So there's some journaling that you can do around your own personal practice with that. But every day you get a different challenge to take on with a different affirmation. And it's a very powerful 30-day challenge that you can use. The other thing is WellSpace. We have a WellSpace app that is for your personal wellness and mental health. And you can join WellSpace at myteacherwellness.com. The app was specifically developed by and for educators and human service professionals. So if you're in either one of those categories, then definitely it's free of charge. It doesn't cost you anything. So definitely go in. We have a full meditation station there. We have courses on everything from aromatherapy to visualization to dance fitness to stress management, Qigong. If you want to learn Qigong, you can go there and learn it. If you want to, get into yoga, but do it in your own personal home, then you can do that. We have, all kinds of things. A new course that we have is the art of self-massage, where again, during the quarantine, we weren't able to go out. And that's one of the last things I want to mention is that sometimes a lot of times for years, we have relied on going out to see other people as our form of self-care. So going to see the massage therapist and getting massage, going to the nail salon and getting my nails done, going to get a pedicure, you're always going someplace else and having a service done. And one of the things that this quarantine has taught us is that you can't always go out to someone else to have those services done. So what personal strategies do you have? What personal self-care strategies do you have that you're doing for yourself, to yourself? Well, this art of self-massage class, there's a two-part class to it, blew my mind, and as well as the other educators who were on it, in the fact that you don't have to go out and get somebody else to do it for you, because you can do it for yourself right there in your own home. So definitely check out WellSpace and the wealth of information and knowledge that's there for you. And then the last one, if mindfulness and sort of learning to live in the now is something that interested you, then we have a 4-week online course called The Power of Living in the Now, Living in the Present Moment. And you can check that out at our Wellness Tools for Women site. So that is the workshop that concludes everything. I thank you, thank you, thank you for taking the time for you. I thank you for taking just the opportunity to do something for you and to put you first, because that is the biggest thing with all of this. Your stress management starts with you. It starts with you deciding to put you first and to do the things that you need to do for you, to make time for you, to put you at the top of the list. And I guarantee you that if you take some time to do that, you will be a much better educator. You'll be a much better teacher. You'll be a much better youth development professional. You will be a much better, juvenile justice professional, social work professional, counselor, whatever your human service profession is. If you take the time to put you first and to truly do it in a way that enhances your own personal life, you will see that the job that you are so passionate about doing will come so much easier to you. So I hope that you have found some great value, some very practical strategies, because that's what I always strive to do with my workshops, is to give you practical strategies that you can use on a daily basis. Again, if you need any assistance, any more advice, coaching, whatever it is, then you can definitely feel free to reach out to me. I appreciate your time, the work that you do, and I ask that you be well in doing that work. This is Dr. Tanya, and I hope to see you soon again in another workshop.